Hey everybody, I think I'm live, but as usual, I gotta kind of check because you never know. Um, I mean, it says I'm live. Oh wait, I think here we go. All right. All right. So what I'm gonna do is what I should have done the very first time that I did this live stream that I failed to. We're gonna boot up the SMS and we're going to do some different test carts to make sure that this thing is actually good. Because the last time I did a Lumacode stream, I was getting all of these crazy issues that turned out to be the VDP on the master system itself. So it's, and I triple checked this. It's impossible that I did anything wrong, which is rare. Both rare for me to say and rare for it to be reality. But as you can see here, all the sprites are working, and if you remember, anybody that saw the last stream, they were not working. Hello, Pig. Greeting from Ukraine, and that is the name in the chat. I'm not calling not calling somebody a pig. That is the name. All right, let's just try a couple other things. So let's go to Sonic 2. We'll check the sprite flicker there. And this is just RGB output. This is just, we're doing a control test here to make sure that this is actually working and that I'm not about to mod a broken machine like I did last time. So as you can see in the lower left-hand corner, Sonic is not flickering and all of Sonic is on screen, which was not happening last time. And I'm going to annoyingly repeat myself in that the problem last time was not the mod at all. I just didn't fully test the master system before doing the mod, and I didn't realize the VDP was bad on it. Chew Diggy, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see the jail bars pretty badly in here as well. And, this is RGB, so it's still sharp. But yeah, it's a combination of analog video noise and RAM noise that does it, which is why even an awesome RGB bypass, which would look excellent on an RGB monitor, isn't going to cut it for flat panels because you scale everything. You scale the interference, the RAM noise, everything gets scaled on flat panels. Okay, so let me reset. Let's check the reset button. All right, reset button works back into the game. Missing new is a bad VDP common with the master system? I didn't think so, and based on people's reaction on the SMS Power Discord, I don't think so. Because if it was, and I posted pictures of everything, they'd have been like, "Oh yeah, this is that thing," but it's not. So, or that's not what happened. They were all just kind of like, "Huh, that's weird." Oh, that's interesting. So that one's just not working. Okay. SMS mem test. Oh, you know what? That's another one. Let's just do that last test before I open it up then, because that's the other thing that we saw later on in the stream is that Missile Defense 3D was also built into the other BIOS, and missiles were disappearing in the air. which means it was definitely not the cartridge or anything I was doing. And by the way, this weird shaking you're seeing on screen is because this is a 3D game. So we'll just give this a minute and see. This is a different attract mode than the other one. This is definitely a different attract mode. I guess there's different versions of the game. All right, well, the missiles are not disappearing, so there's no VDP and sprite issues at all on this one. I'll switch back to the other view, and let's pop this sucker open. So while I'm going to try to make this live stream shorter than the last one to give it more of a sense of real-time installation without all the experimenting, I'm glad I did that first because I just wanted to drive the point home to people that you should absolutely be testing these, which is advice I always give, but as you can see, I didn't follow myself. I don't want to scrape the plastic, so I'm going to grab a different screwdriver. Okay, it's missing a screw. No, it's not missing a screw. It just kind of rusted out on that one, so that'll be interesting to see what's inside of this. I wonder if we're going to get a roach special. The worst one I ever opened, I don't know what happened to the pictures of it. Okay, that's not going to work. I need to go in with a smaller one. I'm going to grab my magnetic screw thing, which I will keep away from CRTs. There's a CRT underneath here. Okay, I should put it here. Hey Wayne, yep, that's I just fired that up. It doesn't have every feature of all of the other SMS test suites or all the other 240p test suites, but it's excellent and it really is a huge help for things, including calibrating the RGB output, which we're going to do, assuming I could get this thing installed, which we're going to do later on in the stream. Yeah, funny enough, so the RetroTink 6X has already been in a whole bunch of these live streams by accident. I didn't realize that I have all of my scalars in a pile and I use them all the time. And sometimes I just grab whichever is closest. So yeah, that was accidentally already in a couple of streams being used, but it was like, it was just out of view and stuff. So I don't think I spilled the beans on that. Oh, that is a very rusted screw. Well, this is going to be a pretty short stream if I can't get that out. Oh, crap. Wow. Does anybody have any thoughts on how to get a stripped screw out? I've never had that happen before on a console. Let me get a couple, wiggle it a little bit just to put some pressure on it. I'm going to try going in sideways and just squeezing as hard as I can. Did I get it? Oh, please tell me I got it. Well, now I'm really glad I didn't use a power screwdriver. That would have stripped that right out. Alright, can I pull the whole top off? Yeah, okay. Well, nothing glaring, no like giant cockroaches or anything. Let me move this out of the way. Super lucky I got that out. Morning, Remy. Alright. I'm going to push that screw right through. Yeah, that's completely rotted out. That's going to go right in the garbage. I'd rather have no screw than ever use that one again. Especially because what if we use it and then we can't get anything out? Put that over here. So hopefully now I'll be able to finally work on that Lumacode video that probably would have been out already if I didn't have that bum SMS. And I would like to show Atari 2600 and stuff, but I can't do every single console that Lumacode supports. I can't afford to, to do all that. I'd like to, don't get me wrong. I think it'd be fun, but I think Atari 2600 should be, or ColecoVision, I guess, should be a great example because I think most people could visualize the difference for all of them. So if you have a Coleco, but I show a 2600 that's RF only with this really simple mod, I think that should be something you could visualize. Okay, let me open this up. So there is a bit of rust around this. Let me get a screwdriver to flip that over. So if I was doing a full restoration on this, I would actually be sanding down the metal, and I would have to look up what that spray stuff is. I watched the Ammo NYC car detailing channel, and Larry always uses stuff, and I tried figuring out what it was a couple of times, and he always shows it for half a second, or like the stuff that he mentioned might not be made anymore or something like that. So it's been hard, but yeah, if I was doing a full restoration, I would sand that down and definitely spray something over it. But the board itself looks like it's actually in pretty decent shape, all things considered. I don't think I need to take it apart any further, to be honest with you. So I think I should straighten out those tabs though, just in case. Spray it with chrome Kappa. This is just me being a little pedantic, and also will make it easier to get the metal in later, and we just have to remember to push it back down with a screwdriver. So let's jump right in. Oh, that's an RCA jack. I don't know why that's here. All right. So this is what we had last time. This is the Lumacode board. And I might redo the wires, I might not. I haven't really decided yet. But we mounted this here. We put the power right up to the VDP. And then we have the different installation points. I believe that was clock. And then we have RGB and sync. And I think I'm going to try to use the same points as last time, because I think the points themselves were all very good. The only thing I'm not going to do this time is stick it to the VDP until after, and we'll go from there. And maybe we'll do just a couple of checks one at a time, just to make sure that anything I'm doing isn't damaging anything. Because if we blow out this one, then we'll know it's something I did. But I've worked on so many of these over the years, and the ones that I was doing the original jail bar testing on, like if I didn't break those, I'm not breaking these. Jose, I'm trying my best to keep up with the chat, but I'm also working. So would you like to try again? All right, let me fire up my soldering iron. And we're just going to annoyingly do this one step at a time, which I normally wouldn't go this slow, even though I actually do like to pace myself in these live streams. But we'll start with the hardest part, and I'm also going to recut some double-sided tape, but use it for isolation, not for mounting this time. I'm trying to, I'll put that in there. All right, so I'm gonna put 2 little pieces on here, which should be all I need to keep it from flopping around. But I'm not going to take the other side of the double-sided tape off, just so I could use this as isolation for now, and then go back and figure out whatever else later. All right, so that should be good. And now I just have to double check and look up all the installation points as well. So this is a Lumacode mod. This is a way for people who are looking to go to a flat panel to get essentially an HDMI mod, but way cheaper and much, much easier. It's only compatible with 8-bit consoles and computers, and not all of them. If you're going to a CRT, it's useless. I mean that with love, of course, but... All right, goodbye, Jose. So I just got to double check. So this is the 315-5124, so it should be the same one. And I'll drop links to everything I'm looking at in the chat as well. So this right there, and 5124, and the clock is pin 30. 32, 31, 30. Okay. So let me see if I can get this on camera. Hold on, I need to actually be able to see it. Sorry. So for anybody that's never done anything like this before, for everybody else, I apologize for, accidentally talking down to you, but that's pin 1. You see that says 32, and down here that says 33. So that means 31, 30. Third from the left is what we need to solder to for the clock. I try really hard in these videos in all my videos actually, to present it in a way for both experts and beginners, and I don't always get it right. In fact, I'd say I probably get it wrong more than I get it right. I just try really hard because experts should be able to follow along and skip ahead, but these mods are so easy that I want beginners to feel comfortable doing them. It's way easier than you would think. So, clock 30. Mediocre Chef, what that was somebody took a Game Gear with a consolizer and put it into a shell that looked like a Master System, which I think is very cool. And but that's what that was. There's also that project. Hold on, I'm super old. I got to switch through 3 different pairs of glasses now. There's also that project that lets you play Game Gear games on a Master System, and I did a video on that. But you got to have realistic expectations. It's because the Game Gear has a lot more colors than the Master System, and because it was designed with a different screen area, it's never going to look the same. Or I guess the better way to put it is it's never going to be like a Super Game Boy. Okay, so being a little bit obsessive here because of last time, The only time I actually touched a soldering iron to the VDP last time was to solder that exact pin. So I am going to switch over and just do those 2 tests again, just so we can see, did I do anything before I even get in there. Sorry, need my controller hooked up. I don't know why I'm having controller issues. Alright, I guess I gotta grab a Genesis controller. Yeah, let me see what I got with this. I don't have a Master System controller, but a Genesis wired 3 buttons probably the safer bet. I was using Crix's Joys, but sometimes that could be weird on Master Systems, so I'm just going to grab a good old 3 button and go from there. Wow, I'm not getting any controller working at all here. That is really interesting. Okay. All I did, my iron isn't even hot. So let me, I hope the controller port isn't rusted out or anything, because that's where the rust was. Yeah, is it working? No. Controller's not working. Wow, this sucks. I'm just not having much luck. The controller was really weird and finicky before. Uh-oh. All right, let me try one more thing, and if not, I'm taking it all apart. I'm just having really bad luck with SMSs. Yeah, Love and Peace. So this is specifically for people who are going to flat panels. You could, on 8-bit computer and consoles, you can go through a scaler and essentially get an HDMI mod. All right, well, this sucks. My iron wasn't hot, so there's no way that was it, but it could be. Let's just take this whole thing apart and try to reflow some controller ports and see what that is. I should have grabbed a wired controller first, because when I saw the issues with the wireless controller, I just assumed it was the wireless controller, but I should have learned in the first stream, don't assume. These two. Let's take a look at the bottom of the board. I hope it's not all rusted out or something. Uh-oh. That screw just went flying. Where did that go? Oh, got it. Cool. Forgot the one in the middle. Okay, so there is a little bit of rust underneath, but there wasn't any shorts or anything like that. So I'm just going to reflow the controller port pins and cross our fingers. So the screws all here holding the pins, those are all rusted too, which means liquid was definitely on this at some point. So let me just try to reflow some of this stuff and hope for the best. This is the second eBay console now, by the way. All right. Let me also going to try some kind of visual inspection to see if I see anything else weird. That's a little... There isn't a short. All right, well, there's a couple of weird things. There's one pin that doesn't have a via around it on one of these right here, which shouldn't really make too much of a difference. But that's interesting. And also, check out this. Oh, no, never mind. So that's just a via. I thought it was missing a pin, but that does look a little weird. So let me clean that up. That could just be some factory flux or something. It's the curse of working on 30-year-old electronics, right? Okay. It does kind of look like the chip was replaced. I can't really tell if that's factory flux or what. Yeah, it's a lot of goop in there. Maybe that wasn't flux. Maybe that was like dried soda that spilled in or something. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to be so annoyed if this is another dead machine. All right, let me check the chat for a second. Nonsense and Basic has already done a Lumacode mod on their C64, VIC-20, and ZX Spectrums. This is going to be just as good, and you could check the examples in the previous streams as well as the links on RetroRGB just for examples of how good this actually is. Pig, I'm not going to say your full name because I'm absolutely going to reverse it and say the joke by accident. So I'm just going to refer to you as the name that's being typed on screen right now. Pig wants to know what I prefer: a vanilla Genesis with bad sound or modded. I my preference is the high definition graphics non-TMSS Genesis, and I just use it either in all of its glory or I do a subcarrier bypass. So I still can retain composite video, get better RGB, but it's still kind of messy. If I'm playing on a consumer CRT, that's, like my RGB modded one, that's my go-to because it feels, just feels just right. But if I ever need perfection, then I just go to Mister. Sorry, I must have missed that one from before. Mediocre Chef, it was sold as tested, but I don't believe most of those listings that say tested. I think maybe they just plugged it in, they got a power light, and that's it. All right, so there's nothing shorting under here. This is just a non-conductive wood thing. So we're going to turn it on. We got power. Let's switch over to this view. And I'm going to plug in my controller now. Plugging in controller. Not getting a darn thing. All right, let me power this off. I'll put the EverDrive in. Powering it back on again. Nope, nothing. Controller's not working at all. Let me try wiggling the controller. Oh, wait. Okay, do y'all see that? The controller port itself, I think, might be bad. Okay. Let me see. Can the menu do both? I can't remember if the master... All right. Okay, so... All right, if you plug in the controller halfway, it sort of works. Sort of. Now that button's not working. Let me try this again. Mediocre Chef, yeah, the VA7 is the only one that doesn't really sound good because it's essentially like a low-end Genesis 2 motherboard in a Genesis 1 case. All right, let me try one last thing, and then we're going to have to keep troubleshooting the controller port, because of course we do. Hey, Durf, I do have some deoxit. I could try that. Yep, all right. Well, that's what we're going to have to do, something like that. All right. What a pain in the ass. Move the mod over here. I was going to consider swapping these, but they're both kind of funky. So let me try that in a scraper, and let me grab some paper towels real quick too, because I have a feeling this is going to be messier than I would like it to be. For the fun of it, I hear a rumor that's absolutely happening, and in fact, I would love to do a stream like this with one of those. But if we're having this much problem with an SMS, imagine how much problem we're gonna have with a 2600. Durf, I forgot I even had this until you mentioned it. Thank you. If I sniff this really hard, am I going to get high? Oh, I'm kidding. Where am I? You know what I think this could benefit from is a brush. Let me get one of my metal brushes if I could still find one. Alright, I'll have to go box hunting now. I am a very organized hoarder. I have everything in boxes. I know where almost everything is, and until it's time to find something on stream. And then it always takes longer, or I just don't find it at all, and then the moment the stream ends, there it is. Alright, not in this one. I'll grab another box, find a brush. This is giving the deoxit time to do its thing anyway, so. What? That is so funny. There was another stream I did where I talked about needing thermal paste and talked about how I ordered new stuff because I knew I had a previous, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And it was, I found 2 now. This is now 2. Not 1, but 2 sets of thermal paste that I already owned. I just didn't remember where I put it. Great. Alright, I don't know where the brush is, so I'm going to have to figure something else out, and I'll move the thermal paste back where it's supposed to go. Alright. Hey, Ivory Tower. I'm going to read your comments in a second because I have a feeling that's going to be info that I'm going to need for the next stream. But now I can't find my glasses, one of the many pairs, and yeah. Alright, this stream's going downhill immediately. I'm sorry. Alright, Ivory Tower said they've done several 2600s, but you got to relocate the crystal on the 4-switch models to the bottom of the board due to clearance. That's a good tip. And even if you have a socketed 2600, you still would need to remove the socket and replace it with the precise pin type. Okay, that's a good tip. I'll know that for next time. Just trying to scuff these up a little bit. Try again to find some kind of brush. I think we all know what's going to happen. The next stream I do, I'm going to find like 3 of these brushes. It's not under there. How is it not right here? It's always right here. Was somebody on a previous stream with me where I accidentally destroyed the brush and that's why it's not here? for the record, the reason I'm looking for this very specific brush is because it's not a reused toothbrush. It is the same concept, and it kind of looks like a toothbrush, but it's specifically designed for electronics and stuff like that, which, you know, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does, but I actually kind of think that the bristles are far more coarse for this exact reason. Because you're not brushing a living thing with it, you're scrubbing electronics that need to be cleaned. All right, well. Ha! Mediocre chef. Will a Q-tip fit in there? That's exactly what I was just grabbing. And no, it won't really fit between, but I might be able to at least scuff up enough to clean up the deoxit. Ivory Tower, that's a good tip that I had no idea. There's one revision that might not be compatible. Okay. Hey, Jay Russell, how you doing? Well, hold on. I'm just realizing there's one more place it could be. I'm gonna go look one more time for a brush. If not, I'll figure something out. Okay, this is absolutely not what I wanted to do, but I think y'all might have a good laugh at this one. I mean, it's working. Stuff's coming out of it. That's pretty funny. I guess I should probably hit it with some compressed air. A bathroom floor scrubber brush. Yep. Luckily, though, when I'm done with them in the bathroom, or whatever tile I end up using it for, I do scrub them clean. So there's no, like, I'm not putting poo in a master system. Okay. Okay, so that was absolutely worthwhile because there's a whole bunch of just a little bit of fluid left that didn't evaporate yet. Oh, really glad I got to that. Oh, let's do that again. Okay, well, let's try this sucker out. See if that made any difference at all. And if not, then we can decide what to do. I'm going to use the wired 3-button controller because, I don't know, just because. Okay, the button worked now. So let's go back in and try it with the EverDrive. Okay, that's working. Okay, well, what an annoying distraction. I'm going to leave this up for a second while just as kind of like, I don't want to say a burn-in test, but basically like a burn-in test, just to kind of give this a minute, put my stuff away, wash the deoxit off my hands, and get back to it. What a pain. It's funny, people that are watching this who mod consoles are all like cringing and chuckling at the same time because it's hitting home real hard, I bet. Like, oh, yep. And it's also going to be like maddening for people who don't mod but send their consoles in, because you have your console that's worked fine for years, and then you send it to somebody and suddenly it doesn't work, and they're like, "Hey, you sent me a broken console." It's like, what are you talking about? It worked fine for me, and it just so happens that it's, the next time anybody powered it on, it wasn't going to work, and that's absolutely common. All right, let me wash my hands to get the deoxit off. I know I do this every single time, but for anybody who happens to just be joining the stream, I'm not peeing on stream. I'm washing my hands. There's oh, hold on, let me put this away first. I'm positive I'm going to forget, and it's going to happen at some point, but I have never done it. Anytime anybody's been on a stream and they heard a stream of water, it was this, washing my hands. All right. All right, let's get back to it. Is it still running? Is it still good? Powerman 5000, welcome. I am trying out a mod called Lumacode on the Master System, which if you combine it with a RetroTink or OSSC, you end up getting essentially an HDMI mod for much easier installation and a fraction of the price, assuming that the console that you get actually works, which was the problem I was running into, which is why the stream is an hour in and I haven't done anything. Okay. Turf. Bob washes his hands while peeing to cover up the sound. That's funny. All right. Okay. Seems like it's all working. I know this is me being annoying, but this is bothering me. Scaling mode, autofill integer plus. There we go. That's better. Ivory Tower, yeah, I had zero issues with it in Lumacode, and it was actually when I was doing some of the Lumacode testing, I was actually using the 6X to do that. So it should be fine, and the profiles, well, the NES profiles should be plug and play. There is no profile really needed for SMS, but yeah, definitely give it a try and see what you think. All right, so I'm gonna put this back in here. So there's definitely one thing that I've noticed over the years that might seem like I'm going to be a little bit annoying about this, but I've 100% seen scenarios where things didn't work inside the console but did out, and it turned out to be a short or something else. So I'm going to get the SMS back to where it was when we started, and then finish the installation. That way I know that I'm not going to put it together and have a short break it. I also have to redo the screenshots from the post because a bunch of people keep rightfully asking, why is Sonic half missing? And luckily, I think you could see it in both the RGB and the Lumacode shot, so you don't think it's just a mod that's doing it. But yeah, that's broken VDP thing coming back at you. Is this capture showing the colors more on the greenish side, or is it just you? I noticed that too, and I also noticed that it didn't happen when I first powered it on, but it's been happening. So it could be that the RGB connector also needs some deoxit and some reflowing. So we could try that in a bit as well. And in fact, we could fire up the 240p test suite real quick to see exactly that. Do you see red flickering a little bit? Maybe it's my cable. This is a very beat ass old cable, so that could have been it the whole time. Not for the controller issue, for the color. Okay, I think we're good to continue. Thanks for calling that out, though. I appreciate it, because if I didn't notice it and I saw that later, I would have been freaking out wondering what I did wrong. So, much appreciated. So what I'm doing now is just triple checking which is power, the 5-volt power that we needed, which is on the right. 9 volts on the left, so we need 5-volt power. Just since we're here, let's just make sure I didn't break anything. No, it's still working. Okay. And then that should be ground in the middle. Okay. Now let me grab this mod and figure out which was which here. Ground is on the right. Okay, I just need more pressure. All right. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the VDP. Or not VDP, jeez, come on, moron. To the DC to DC 7805. And I'm going to retin these wires, even though they already have a little bit of solder on them. No, they could use more. Okay, I'm going to run these underneath and give this a try. I don't remember how I did this last time. I think I did it front to back, not back to front, but let's see if I can fit it in or if I'm going to mess it up. Oh no, I would definitely mess it up this one. I got to remove it from the board first. Okay. Gonna feed this right through. Will that go through? What's blocking here? This worked fine on the other SMS. So normally I would say just take the heatsink off, but now I'm wondering why it slid through so nicely on the other one and not on this one. Am I caught? Are the wires broken? Am I putting it in a different angle? Because I also, if I can't easily fit the wires through, does that mean that they would crimp underneath? I think maybe I just got to be a little more careful. All right, I think there's a diode in the way that might not have been there on the other motherboard. Oh. I guess let's just try this and see. And I'll power it on without the wire connected and check for shorts. think I got it. All right, well, let's grab the multimeter and double check. And I'll check the chat too. And if I miss anything, please ask again. It's not intentional. I'm obviously just paying attention to not ruining this SMS. Does the Tink 6X come with a remote? Yes, this one. It's essentially the exact same as the 4K CE, or it's just the 6X CE's version of it. The one good thing is you don't require a really high powered USB-C. I power it off on my PC all the time. No short. No short. Well, let's see which one's power and which one's ground. That one's power. So I'll solder it up and then, of course, check again. I'll add some more solder to make it stick a little better. Ivory Tower said they've never owned one of the higher Tink scalers. They're still using an OSSC. Honestly, I love the OSSC. I never say anything bad about it. I just say, realistically, it's not going to work with every TV. It doesn't have all the options. It's not the best for deinterlacing, but we would never have any of the stuff that we have if it wasn't for the FrameMeister and the OSSC. I'm just a massive fan. Marcus is an awesome person. So, yeah, it's a great scaler. It's just a matter of what you want or need. I also really like the Pro, by the way. It's definitely feels like a more expert option, which is fine. I mean, there's many of us would consider ourselves in that category, so I'm obviously not talking badly. But it's definitely a good scaler and one that I'm happy that I get to do some more videos on now. All right, so all I'm doing, the only thing I'm going to be hooking up is power and clock. Okay, so I have power hooked up. Let me take this off. I'm going to pull the red, green, blue, and sync lines up so I don't short anything out. It is not affixed to the VDP yet, so we're just hanging out there. Nothing's touching or shorted at all. So let's test this sucker now and see what we got. Hey, what's up? Good to see you, Koala. So let's immediately go into this. The VDP is still fine, which I'm not the slightest bit surprised about, but that was the issue with the previous stream, was I didn't test the VDP beforehand. By the way, the creator of the 240p test suite SMS version is the person who sent me that software. So thank you so much for helping. See? And let's just test the colors again, too. Ivory, what would be the issue with that? Asking genuinely, not being a wise ass. I feel like I have to clarify myself all the time, because no matter how hard I try to be polite and respectful, there's still people, like I said something the other day, like, and respectfully, this isn't for the type of people who just like plug and play stuff. This is for experts, but maybe stick with me, maybe you'll like it. People are like, do you see him talking down to people? See all the horrible things just because we're not experts that make me feel bad? I'm like, I couldn't possibly have thought of a better way to say that. So sorry if I'm annoyingly double checking myself, but I want everybody who's cool to feel welcome here, always. So Artemio did the 240p test suite. Oh, I should have taken my mic off before I took a drink. Good people, not trolls, reminded me that if I hate mouth noises so much, why do I drink my water on stream with a mic right next to me? Sorry about that. So Artemio did the 240p test suite, but Spherix is the one who ported it to the SMS and sent me that other one. Ivory Tower said it would be the VGA input on the Tink 6X, and that isn't the problem, but they don't like the idea of giving up the green component input for Lumacode. You don't need to. I'm glad you mentioned that. Any green input on the Tinks would accept Lumacode, including the one on the VGA input. So you could actually route Lumacode through the green signal of one of your Extron channels and have it go through the same VGA cable. Glad you asked. Oh, Jay Russell, you should see the things people say about me. I don't really care anymore for the most part. So, my friends keep sending me screenshots, which just annoys me to death. I just leave. They mean well. I know they mean well, but like, it's like I don't even want to see it. But some of the stuff just makes me laugh. The other day there was a big thread about how I'm mean to people at expos. It's exactly like saying I hate pizza and beer. Both of those things are so far from the truth that couldn't even possibly be true. That's why it didn't bother me, because it was like, anybody that's ever seen me at an expo knows how much I absolutely love hanging out and meeting people and talking nerd stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm an awkward nerd myself, so obviously, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be the most charming person, but yeah, no, that one just cracked me up. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm trying to find my notes from last time on where I pulled the red, green, and blue lines. I think I took a picture of that. Let me try to find it. I see you, Ivory. I'm trying to find the screenshot, and I want to respond to your question proper. Lumacode, SMS. I know I have the pictures here. I think this picture will do. Let me throw this in the stream just so we could look at it together. So the Extron 7 SC is converting the signal to VGA, but don't forget that VGA and RGBS, the only difference is the sync. So as long as you're putting Lumacode through the green channel of your VGA input, it shouldn't be touching it at all. Now, I don't know if the 7SC requires other signals in order for it to activate. I'm not really sure, but as far as a VGA thing goes, I don't think that would worry about it. So you said without the other signals present on the input, the Extron would ignore it. Okay. I'm used to the cross points. Yeah, funny, Durf. Usually, people who show up like late on Sundays or the last day of the expo are beyond kind and understanding. Like they come up to the booth, and I'm trying so hard to be as fired up as I am at the beginning of day one, and they're like, no, keep sitting. We get it. We know you're tired. We just want to say hi and ask some questions and stuff. But the only time I think I've ever been rude is when I had to pee so bad and people kept stopping to talk and I didn't want to leave. And so I finally got an opening and I ran to the bathroom and somebody was like, "Hey, it's Bob." I was like, "I gotta pee so bad. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back." And I came back out and I found the person. I was like, I wasn't kidding. I didn't think I was going to make it. Okay. So right here, this isn't the world's best picture. We see that I have red going to the left side of R7, blue going to the right side of, I believe that's R6, and then I'll figure out the other one after it. And I think there was one, wasn't it on Zaxor's page? I think there was one on Zaxor's installation page. Or- where is it? Okay. Installation guide. This is it right here. That's why I didn't have a picture. We're going to steal from Zaxor. Zaxor is here. He would find that funny, I promise. Okay. So that's all this is. And I guessed him correctly. So I'm going to B, G, and R. I should probably add some solder to those. And probably switch to my second pair of old man glasses while I do it. Okay. So right, left, left. These resistors aren't taking heat very well. I wonder if this is just leaking into the bottom. We'll see in a second. Okay, so blue. I'm not Voltar. I can't. Ow! Got my thumb. See. I was just about to say I can't do this on camera and give you the correct view and do the soldering at the same time. I'm not that talented, and as you can see, I could barely even do it without hurting myself. So I will do this real quick and then show you after. Okay. And I forgot which pin was sync on the CXA. Look that up too. I'll check the chat as well. Should you include some Kapton tape? I don't know. Let me think. Wait, am I getting that right? Hey, Rumblemints, how you doing? Oh, yeah, it's 24/7. It is all day, every day. You got to just pretend it doesn't exist. Hey, Zaxor. Pin 10 on the CXA. Thank you. Save me the trip. I'm lucky I have good friends that come in and help so I could be ultra lazy with stuff like this. 13, 12, 11, 10. Okay. So, Zaxor, I'm redoing this obviously because the VDP on the other one was probably what was bad. And then we got this one up and running and the controller port went bad. So we had to stop and spend 40 minutes trying to figure out what that was all about, or a half hour or something. And now we're back and I'm doing the installation ultra slow so that I could test to make sure that there is no other issues with it. I don't like that. I don't think that's as good as I could do. Let me do it better without burning another hole in my thumb. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, real quick, I have everything connected. It is not affixed to the VD. Well, I want to make sure I'm actually showing this on camera and not messing this. All right. It is not affixed to the VDP at all, but all of it's basically working for everything other than the output. Everything's connected, so I'm powering it on just to make sure that everything is still working. And I'm only being extra paranoid because of last time, because I don't think it's physically possible for what I did last time to have burnt out the VDP, but I don't know. So we're just treating it as if. Yeah, it's all there. Okay. So I'm going to move the board around. I don't see any change. All right. So then I'm gonna leave this on. I'm gonna be dangerous. I'm gonna leave this on, and then I'm going to stick this to the VDP. Far enough away from the crystal. Okay. And now let's switch the view back. Okay, no difference, which is a good thing. Let me power cycle and try again. And now we should just have to add the output, which I am going to actually not ground it to the case like Copper Dragon suggested, because I don't think you would need to in every case, and I kind of want good but not perfect installation so I could help troubleshoot any of the other stuff with it. The problem though is I need another shielded cable because I had to cut this one down a little bit. Do I though? Maybe not. Maybe I'll just do it with this one. We'll see. So let me check the top metal. I knew it. I knew it. I was just about to say, wait, am I on the right camera input? Okay. So for me to do this, I wouldn't need to worry about the back shell. I could do that afterwards, but I would obviously need to run it through the top shell first, so I could do that. Let me strip this down, and I'm going to need the zip tie for that as well, because that's the solution I came up with last time that actually worked. All right, I got this here. Now, also, I think one thing I should probably clarify is if I had the opposite, if I had a receptacle RCA jack lying around, I would absolutely use that, but I don't. I just have this. So I figured, let me just use it, and then I could, actually, I'll show you exactly what I was going to use on the output side. So the purpose of this is so that when I have this thing run, it's going to stick out just enough so I can plug it directly into the tank for direct testing. And then I'm going to run it through this thing into shielded RCA cables. And this is going to Mike to further test for Lumacode on the tanks. So he'll probably just leave it like this. Let me do some careful stripping, tin these up, and we should be able to just give it a try. And if anybody has any questions or anything, because I'm just messing around with getting a wire set, that would be any questions you have, now's a good time to ask. Just remove that cover and plug in. What do you mean? Sorry, Zach, sorry. By the way, anybody here going to Retro World Expo? I'm looking forward to that. A couple weeks away. I am going to be bringing some CRTs to sell and probably a lot of other stuff, to be honest with you, because I gotta sell off some stuff to be able to buy a projector because I want to finish doing that testing I started last year. My guess is that projectors aren't going to be what I recommend or prefer for gaming, but are probably going to be the best bet for 24p content that's not CRT based. And my other guess is that the biggest problem I had last time wasn't the projector, but the screen. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the known working solution for now, but that's probably a better idea, to be honest with you, Saxor. But I'm gonna do this just for now. Honestly, as much as I would love to hang out with you and meet you in person and be at the expo with you, yeah, that's a smart move. Go on an awesome trip. I miss Taiwan so much. I had gone a lot from 2006 to 2012, and it was just I loved it. It was odd how it always felt like my second home, even though like I'm not Asian at all. But I'd never traveled anywhere in my entire life, and then I got this job where on like day one they were like, "Do you have a passport? Get one." And I traveled all over for that job, and a lot of places did kind of feel a lot of places in the U.S. actually felt kind of foreign to me. But from the moment I landed in Taiwan, it felt like I was in New York. It just felt like a place for me. And I ended up spending a lot of time there. I had a bunch of friends, and then company didn't do so good after a while. Yada yada, same old story. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a mock installation here. I'm going to, well, actually, let me show you Let me show you this. So everything should be lined up. Let me get this together. Oh, is that Allie? It's excellent that you've joined the stream today. There, did I make up for it? Sorry, second channel nerd jokes. Okay, so I have the zip tie. And I'm going to leave a little slack, but not a lot. A little slack on purpose. I'll put this through. Route that over here. So what I have now is this run through the channel 3, channel 4 switch, which you could still definitely get to if you needed to. You just have to put a screwdriver in. But that zip tie, it's really doing its job. So let's power this up and give it a try. First with RGB, then with Lumacode. Let me make some room so I could have all of this at the same time here. Rumblements. That joke was foul. Oh, so that is an excellent question. Checky, I think, is that how you would say it? Sorry if I murdered the pronunciation. So the question was, wouldn't you just connect it to the RF output? And that is an awesome, awesome question. Yes, you could absolutely just sever the connection in the RF box and connect it there. And that's even reversible. So I would still call that a no-cut mod. However, this one's going to Mike Chi for testing, and for myself and any other tinkerers or anybody who constantly messes with stuff, I don't want to remove any functionality because I just know our luck. If I do it this way, Mike will never, ever, ever need RF output. And the moment I severed that connection, there would need to be some test that required RF output on a master system. So instead, it's a completely no-cut mod that's fully reversible and doesn't remove any functionality whatsoever at all. Great question. Should have said that. I should have said that first, I mean. And I am actually... All right, yeah. Let's do it this way. Plug this in first. We'll get RGB going, and then I'll switch over. So, if you plan on doing this to your console, I would decide whatever you wanted to do. I mean, heck, if you really wanted to, you could drill a hole in the back of your master system and add some RCA jacks. That kind of makes my skin crawl when I see that, but that's your console and you can do anything you want with it. All right, first let's start this just to make sure. Yeah, I didn't imagine that was going to not work. The major reason too for me is just I've been doing this for so long now. I've seen 3 different waves of mods for these excuse me, for these consoles. So I don't like to change anything that I don't have to, because 10, 20 years from now, these consoles will probably still be running. And if somebody grabs it and goes to plug it in and they happen to have an RF adapter and it doesn't work, they're going to think, okay, well, it must be dead. Not, hey, what about this mod that may or may not have been done? Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch to Sonic, something that we could all recognize a little more. Jay Russell, exactly right. It's 100% right. Because what if you did cut a bunch of holes in your SMS2 and you mounted an RGB connector, and then you decide, I love CRTs, but I'm tired of upkeep. I just want a game on a flat panel, and you switch to Lumacode. What are you going to do? Try to reuse holes that are completely different sizes? Whereas with this, you don't need to. All right, and for anybody who hasn't seen the Lumacode thing before, as soon as I plug it into the RetroTink, it's going to look crazy. Don't worry. All right, so I'm going to switch views here for a second. I'm going to unplug RGB. I'm going to plug this in to, carefully, plug this into the green output, or input. Okay. I'll switch the, well, there, sorry. Plugged in directly. And we're going to go input source. And remember, it's going to look crazy at first. That is normal. Okay. Then we go in. STP. Is it the STP? No. It says sample rate detection. Enable Lumacode. Select master system. And there might be one last step or there might not. It looks like it even set the phase properly. The colors look a little weird though, right? Oh, but no, that's calibration. We'll get to that next. Did I accidentally hit pause? I did hit pause. Well, that scared me. I thought it froze. So don't let the colors fool you. I'll get to that in a second. This is what we did on stream with last time. Yeah, and respectfully, once again, for anybody who is a CRT enthusiast, Lumacode's not for you. Just use Master System in all its glory with its standard RGB output. Go the distance and do the Zaxor RGB bypass, especially if you have like a BVM or something. Try to play through a Genesis. Oh, okay. So you know what? This is more likely then. It could be that it's calibration, or it could be that I messed the green up. So let's switch back to the other view and try it. So all Lumacode mods are what I would classify as an easy video mod, even for a beginner. What makes this harder than like the NES is that you could potentially have to calibrate it, which I actually didn't have to last time. We did anyway, just to do that on stream. So let me take a look and get my giant head in there. So green. Oh, the green wire popped off. Well, that's about as easy of a troubleshooting thing as I could possibly find. Okay. I knew those resistors weren't getting good connections. Now I just have to carefully get my iron in here. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the gentle tug test on each one of these. And if Voltar was here, I'm sure he'd have something to say to that, but that's fine. All right, tug, red, solid, green, solid, blue, solid. And also, since we know that there wasn't any crazy interference or anything, we also know that means that the the cable itself, like the output cable, isn't a problem. So I'm going to go and use the extension cord now so that I can swap back and forth between the two signal types. Let me just get this in. And I'm not going to do the final bolt down because I am probably going to go through the calibration again just to see. All right. So we'll have our little extender. I'm going to use HD RetroVision cables just because I know for a fact that they're fully shielded. So I'll just go right in here. And I'm also going to plug in RGB so that we can switch back and forth and check all this out for ourselves. Jeez, I love easy mistakes like that. Dragon Flame's replacing the RF in their Model 2 with a Genesis Model 1 port. Model 2 port, I think you mean. But yeah, that's an awesome solution. Oh, Zaxor has a mounting port for the 10-pin DIN. So that the advantage of that would be you also have S-video as well. All right. So this might actually be where we need the calibration, but because we're getting red, green, and blue, and that's fine. This is part of doing it on an SMS. Let me just double check and go to SCART. Oh, we would have to turn off Lumacode. All right, so let's go to advanced settings, SDP to. Oh, I did it again. Lumacode off. We have red, green, and blue. It looks totally fine. So let's go autofill integer, manage profiles, save as new. On. We'll save that profile too. Cancel. Where is it? Manage profiles. Save as new. Save, and then button 1 will be SMS RGB. Oh, did I not do it right? And button 2 will be SMS Lumacode. And now we could just switch right back. There you go. There you go. So now it's time for the calibration. Let me check the chat again, and let me take a drink with my headset off. So Zaxor's kit for the 10-pin DIN in a master system, you could use like capacitor legs to secure the adapter board to the motherboard, and then also put the Saturn style DIN right there, which allows for composite, S-video, and RGB to a single port. Phantom, yeah, it's part of the latest firmware. All right, so let's go back to Copper Dragon's page. So I'm gonna flip this open. Let's see if I could do this. No, I'm gonna have to power it all off. Okay. Let me just get this piece of metal out of the way so I don't accidentally short anything. We could have the cable coming out here. Did I just rip that off? I did. What an asshole. All right, so what I'm actually going to do is snip this off. No, I'm not going to do that. Let me try this again. I think if I just use this, okay. All right, nice and solid again. That should all be balanced properly. Let me power this all up and then get into calibration mode, and that should only be a couple of minutes. Hello said they installed Lumacode mod in an NES with Zaxor's POW block. Yeah, that is the exact one, or the exact type of method that Tito used that I think is perfect for this. Okay. Especially because you might not have, or your RF box, remember, it has the power circuit in there. So, wait, what's going on? Oh, okay. So the problem was that my ground wire wasn't connected. This might not actually, or the ground wire wasn't fully connected. It's because this is Lumacode right now. I don't have RGB plugged in. Let me just show you. SMS RGB, it's not plugged in. So Lumacode is actually working. So we might not even need to calibrate this at all. Interesting. Well, let's just see. Let's see where this one falls. So we're going to do short press. It was at 7. Okay, see how it's getting a little crazy? I would say 3 is the lowest. Oh, hold on. and 12 it drops up. So actually, from the factory, this is probably going to be just like the last one, where it's exactly where it should be. I'll try a couple more just to see, but I'm not going to go through all of them because that's exactly what we want to see. We saw that the default setting of 7 just happened to be in the middle, 3 to 12. So there's 4 on each side. So it's, yeah, so that this from the factory should actually be calibrated. And it's not going to be this way on every SMS. Okay. Okay. So yeah, same thing with green. I'll set that back to the way it was. And I'll try blue, but I don't think we need calibrating. Oh, sorry. My hand keeps slipping. Okay, issues at 2. We'll go back up. That's where it started, was 8. Yeah, so 8's a good number for this. Oh, come on. I don't see anything. I don't see anything at all out of turn. Hey, Dylan. All right, so let me reboot it one more time, make sure it's still working, put everything on back together, and then we'll do a couple of quick tests, and then the stream's basically done. Okay. Cool. Y'all see me just accidentally throw my EverDrive on the floor. Swing and a miss. All right. So the goal is to get this routed around here. So there's room for slack and stuff. Okay. Let me zoom in. So see how I have that routed nicely right there? And of course we have the zip tie to add it a little bit more, but we're gonna, all the connections should be a lot more solid this time because I'm planning on having this be the final assembly. So let me start getting some screws in and go from there. I realize this isn't the best angle, but I have everything balanced so perfectly I don't want to mess with anything. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, one more for the shield. Hey, Slopes Game Room, how you doing? Dylan, what's wrong with your Master System? I have unfortunately become a lot more knowledgeable on, on what it takes to keep these running recently. Okay. Okay, so you could still easily get to the channel 3 and 4 switch. And in fact, I'm going to set it to channel 3 just because I don't know anybody that uses channel 4 for RF. Yeah, that slid in super easy with a screwdriver. I'm going to put the case screws in and be done with it. It's going to be missing one case screw because the other one was rotted out. Anybody might remember that from the beginning of the stream. So I'll leave this one out because it's the farthest away from everything. All right, let's give this sucker a try. We're going to go all out with this one. So we're going to have HD RetroVision cables, and specifically using HD RetroVision because they're fully shielded and they're 6 feet long. Going into the pigtail, also obviously a power and a ROM cart, and of course the RGB video connector. And if you're using this on your SMS, what you would probably get is a composite video cable and then just run audio directly into the same RCA jacks. Power this up. And I guess let me do Sonic. Oh, yeah. I just got nervous for a second wondering why the controller wasn't working anymore, and it's because I didn't plug it in. Okay, let's go Sonic 1. I could leave the attract mode going for a minute. I'll run back through the chat and see what I missed. Yeah, so everybody in the chat, Dylan is correct. Could be a bad power switch. Could be the 7805 DC to DC voltage regulator. Definitely could be a bad power supply. So if you're using an old Sega one, or especially if you're using one of those crappy replacement ones, throw that one in the garbage and get like a triad. Ivory Tower said it could also be a cold solder joint on the power input. Absolutely, yes. I would start with the power supply though. Okay, so let me wait till the track mode comes through again. So we have Lumacode, RGB. See that video RAM noise and the jail bars? It's all okay. I'm going to switch over. Lumacode. Neil, that's you're right, but the opposite. The Game Gear is essentially a Master System, but with a lower resolution and a lot more colors. Let me link to that video just because a couple of people had asked about it already. Oop. Yeah, I'll drop this in the chat for anybody wondering. Yeah, this is nuts. Once again, oh wait, I'm looking at the YouTube stream, wondering why my buttons aren't working. What a moron. Okay. Yeah, Dylan, a week and a half, and I'm going to be doing a live stream installing the Retro Tap into my setup too. It's nice to see Sonic completely full and not in pieces. And let me do the other one that we were using for testing as well in the previous stream. You know, it's funny, the Retro Tap, I tried to convince Kyle not to do that. I was like, I don't think you understand the can of worms you're opening up right now trying to make something like that. And he goes, "No, I think I do." I was like, "Okay, we'll see." And he was right. He understood, but it did take over a year because it is really hard to make good power products. Zaxor knows that. Zaxor could vouch for that. So the fact that Kyle did it and did it really well, super impressive. Ivory Tower, exactly. The VDP was messing up, so it was only drawing portions of it. Oh, this is incredible. So one thing I don't think I tried last time that maybe let me try this time just to see. Manage profiles, load, Sega Master System. So let's do uh, Sharp. Let's just try these different ones. Fill Sharp. Okay. So what this is going to do, um, let's see what the scaling says. 5.5x. What does 6x do for here? So this is obviously for the RGB input, but let me just swap over and see something. I'm just curious. What happens if we take the RGB profile, enable Lumacode on it, and get it nice and zoomed? Is it really going to do anything else? No, I don't think so. I'd be better off starting from scratch. All right, loading the other profile. That's just the basic RGB. Here, it's Lumacode, and let me just do the zoom. Autofill integer, so we're going to go proportional. So I guess if you wanted to, depending on the game, you could totally do something like this to fill more of the screen. I think this is overkill even for me because I don't mind overscan, but this is not how you would see. I should probably do a quick video on this because I always talk about how it's okay to cut off a little of the top and bottom because that's what you would see on original consoles, but that's not really what you would have seen on Master System because in NES because it never really filled the screen like that way. But yeah, all right. Okay, so does anybody want to see anything on this before I call the stream? Because this is obviously working perfectly. Let me see what else I have on this SD card, and I'll check anything out from the chat, and then we'll just call it. Yeah, Ivory. So that the 6x would absolutely cut it off like that. Yeah. Or 6x scaling, not the RetroTink 6x. 6 times the vertical height of 240p cuts off too much for the Master System. 5.5 is fine, but then it's uneven pixels, yada yada yada. Power Strike. So wasn't that was it actually Power Strike in the US? It is. Okay. Zaxor, let me get you the exact one because there's one that I've been actually. Let me just take a quick moment to prove this to everybody. Right here, always, always, always is next to my computer. Always. That's the one that I strongly recommend. It works perfectly, and even the analog to digital or digital to analog converter for the audio side is fine. It's not good, but it's not what you would expect for by the way, here's an extra feature of a device that doesn't even really need that. So let me drop the link. And I believe the top link on this post was just recently vetted as well. Okay. So this looks pretty crazy. Let me flip this to RGB. Lumacode. All right. Next, somebody had said Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and or Wonder Boy 3, then Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Uh, oh, Genesis controller patch. Perfect, because I'm using a Genesis controller. RGB. Lumacode. Yeah, RGB does kind of look almost worse than composite in some ways because you're seeing that RAM noise sharpen up. Is there a reason why it looks so bright and clean on stream via RGB? So, um, I think it's because the levels are already going to be where they should be. So let me go into this profile and then do the auto gain button. All right, so this is with the gain compensated for on the output side of things. Hold on. And now let me switch to Lumacode. So if you use the gain setting on the RetroTinks to automatically compensate, that would help. So part of that is because every single analog video console is going to have slightly different levels on the output. Part of it's just because it's kind of getting old. But because the newer line of Tinks 6X and 4X or 4Ks all have that ability to compensate, it's not as big of a deal. Oh, Zaxor said it's because the input resistor network for the CXA is wrong. I guess that too. Checky, so what I did on the CXA was pull sync, not composite. So it's just C-Sync. What was the last one that people had asked? Hold on. There was one more. It was Alex Kidd in Miracle World. All right. Well, this is a colorful one, so this should definitely be another good. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. We got some weirdness. So let me just do, let me go over to RGB and let me go back over to Lumacode. Let's see what we got. That's not what I meant to do at all. So that's interesting. This game tripped up the phase of of Lumacode and the Tink. I mean, it's great that you just press one button to fix it, but that is interesting. All right, so let me go back. Let me hit it again. I think that's going to just be something that happens every now and then. And luckily with the Tinks, it's just a one button push. With the OSSC, you might get a little weirdness, but you know what? Maybe let's hold on. I want to try something. This will be like the final experiment here. Wonder if it's a different horizontal resolution than the other games. That's an excellent point. All right, so it's obviously working now. So let me go load last game. Alex Kidd. Okay. Okay. When the game loaded, that's when it did it. When the game loaded, or when the game play loaded. And then all I gotta do is hit phase, and we're good to go. That's interesting. Ivory, I saw that too, but after I hit the phase button a second time, it mostly went away. So one thing that we could do, all right, let's. This is why I like nerdy experiments. I'm gonna take out RGB from the equation altogether, just to make us some room over here. And then I'm going to connect directly to the green with that pigtail installation to try to remove extra length. Because this could be what Copper Dragon said, is sometimes you really should have it grounded in extra spots. But we'll see. It could just be because Mike doesn't have a master system to test Lumacode with, so he doesn't know how to calculate certain values in certain times, which is why I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm not touching anything. We see Alex Kidd Miracle World. It's working. Press the start button. I don't think I power cycled the Tink, though. Hold on. Let me do this again. Off. Power cycling the Retro Tink. Loading the Lumacode profile. Okay, so it is not a cable length issue. Tap phase again, and it's set. Didn't really work because you still see the speckles. Tap phase again. All right, so let's try manually setting the phase for this game. How do I set it? Ooh. Here we go. And that's it, right? Oh, Ivory, great suggestion. All right, so let's see what I'll reboot and see what it says. No. All right, so it could be that. It could just be that because Mike was doing this essentially blind, meaning like added all of that without the ability to actually test any of it. It could be all those things. So what I'm going to do then is try the OSSC and see if it happens with that, because the OSSC appears to be less sensitive to Lumacode dropouts than the RetroTinks, which neither are, they're both good. It's just probably a great way to test and double check. And any other questions anybody has, now's the time to ask, because I'm going to call the stream right after this. Okay, green input, power on, power on. Let's try this sucker out. So it is a different resolution game? I mean, that would be a great explanation as to what's going on then. Unsupported signal. Wait. I might have to switch capture cards for this one. Hold on a second, everybody. Okay. So this is OSSC Lumacode. Okay, so this just seems like something Mike's gonna have to tweak when he gets this when he gets the console, which is fine. I should be able to do the Lumacode video next week, and so he'll have it in like 2 weeks. So basically, if you install SMS Lumacode and you have any issues, you just press the phase button or go set manual phase for now. Castle of Illusion. Okay. No issues so far. That's pretty incredible. All right, let me power off and switch to the RetroTink. It's a good test. I enjoy this nerding very much. And due to the way that Lumacode is accessed and calibrated and stuff, it would be the exact same on the RetroTink as it would, or on the like the 6X CE as it would on the 4K CE, as it would on the 4K Pro. So that's not going to be a worry. Okay. Flip that back over. And start last game. F Singularity. said SMS sending me back to my childhood. Would you mind if I asked where you grew up? Because I was on the east coast of the US and I didn't even know it existed until somebody moved from California on the west coast and brought theirs with them. Where I lived, not the whole east coast, I can't vouch for that, but the area that I lived on, I just never saw them in any store ever. I'm always just kind of curious. Jay Russell, yes, that calibrated it right when it first detected the signal. All right, so this is fine on the tank. Let's. Zaxor saw one when they were a kid at a babysitter's house in North Texas. Oh, F Singularity grew up in Minnesota, so that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely had never seen one. All right, what's the really good one? There was a couple of really good ones. Was it Battletoads? I don't remember. So what you see on the top of the screen right now, that is what you would get with Game Gear to SMS conversions. That is not a result of Lumacode at all, which is why it's really interesting that the Retro Tank is handling it so well. So let me plug in RGB just to double check to show you all. Flip this over. Yeah, see, RGB, same thing. So F Singularity, the neighbor who had it sold it to me. The kid was like a born salesman and convinced me to buy it, but actually at a great deal. And I got the 3D adapter and Space Harrier 3D with it. So I was very much loved it. Oh yeah, Australia and Brazil. I know. I knew they were pretty huge in some parts of Europe, I guess. But yeah, I was just always kind of curious about that. Oh no, 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 no. My controller's glitching out again. At least we know why. All right, let me reset this master system. Interesting. Okay. Let me just reseat everything. Why not? Did Zaxxon 3D come with the glasses? I was always so bad at that game. Every version of that game, too. I think my family had it for the Tandy 1000 computer. So this is a really good Game Gear to Master System conversion. Like top tier. I think this is the Chris Covell one. That works perfectly. All right, I'm going to try Alex Kidd one more time. And I think that's fair enough. Anybody who's an early adopter, sorry, but you might occasionally, every once in a while, have to press the phase button. I think that's fair enough, and I'm sure it'll get fixed at some point. Yep. Okay. Well, just something to have Mike check out. Manually setting phase or doing that should be fine. Cool. The built-in maze game. So some of them have games built into the BIOS. Mine, I don't think mine did as a kid, This one has Maze Missile Defense 3D. RGB, Lumacode. Waiting for the attract mode here. Does the Master System version have an attract mode? I thought it did. Oh, yep, here it goes. Look at those jail bars in RGB, and then poof, Lumacode. Dr. Lilo made sure to set up the Mr. Core to auto boot to the BIOS screen so they could access the maze game. That's funny. All right, well, I think I'm going to play a very quick round of this just to end on how awesome this looks, but I think that's it. I think total success. I'm going to keep talking about Lumacode because I absolutely believe in it. And, well, I mean, for the right situation, obviously. If you have a Sony BVM RGB monitor, you should be doing Zaxor's mod, so you get the top tier RGB. If you're using consumer grade CRT, I don't think you need any of it. Or if the SMS isn't your favorite console, just use RGB and know that this is how it looks. But if you're going into a RetroTink or OSSC, and I think probably soon to be a Morph as well, you should be able to do this very easy and cheap mod and essentially get yourself HDMI output. A quick shout out to Ivory Tower. They make Raspberry Pi modules, and if you don't have any other console that needs to go to HDMI, that's a great solution. I just always push the scalers because people could use it for other stuff. And especially when you get into the crazy CRT emulation that like the Tinks have now, where you could use it for VHS, Laserdisc, like tons of other stuff too. So Durf, that was actually one of the things that Copper Dragon had originally worked out, is a way to Lumacode mod something so you can go to either RGB or HDMI. But the components that were required for the RGB circuit all went end of life, and Copper Dragon bought a bunch of others, and none of them worked. So it's just one of those things where he's like, you know what? Let's just make this full digital only. All right. Well, this was awesome. Thank you all so much. Sorry that the first part of this turned out to be another wild goose chase, but hey, hopefully at least we learned some stuff. And I don't know, this is always so much fun to do with you all here. So I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me on these live streams. You make it so much fun. And I'm going to go and write some posts and